Hi guys, this is going to be my very own mod. I've done mods previously, but they've always been small scale mods, so I've never really gone to the extent of creating kind of like a full overhaul mod for a game such as Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. But what I'll be doing is basically increasing the graphical quality and the gameplays, basically just making it a lot better, not only visually but also in a few other aspects, maybe even animation and other stuff. So as you can see, I'm downloading the vanilla San Andreas. I've had obviously quite a number of mods on the game, and it obviously looked really nice, but obviously felt a bit greedy kind of keeping all that information in those files to myself, so I'm going to be sharing these with you today. So if you're not interested in watching kind of like the progress, the changes, the things I've done, then obviously all the links are in the description, take you to the creators page. However, in this mod I will be making a few mods of my own and a few adjustments of my own when necessary, so I might make HD versions of this, I might add that into the game, blah blah blah. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to actually start doing is setting up an ENB. So this will overhaul the lighting, shadows and shaders, and in a game like San Andreas there's no ambient occlusion by default. The effects, they're very poor, and well, visual effects I mean, and there's no fancy looking settings on there. So obviously when you first put the ENB in, and obviously I'm using vanilla ENB, I've not used anyone else's ENB, this is just the stock ENB you can get from the website. You'll notice there's black shadows and these weird effects. Obviously I'm changing a few settings to get the ambient occlusion properly set up. I'm going to get the shadows perfectly optimized. I'm going to get the reflections to a decent standard. And I'm also going to overhaul kind of like the brightness and contrast to get it to more of like a realistic / Grand Theft Auto 5 sort of standard. So now that the ENB is pretty much properly configured, obviously what you're seeing in the preview video just before, that was before it was properly configured. What you're seeing now is the final ENB configuration. As you can see, the shadows, the ambient occlusion, the color palette, all those sort of things. You might have seen a bit of lens flare on the way out. They've all been improved. So what we're going to do now is install a draw distance modification. So in the original files the draw distance is very short, so what you're seeing then is the buildings in the distance that were quite fogged out, because in game development we like to use the fog to make it easier for the computer to render. However, obviously in 2016 it just gets in the way, it doesn't look very good. So what I just did then was put in a modification to the time cycle where it reduces the amount of fog, so it puts it further back by 7 times. Now obviously if you do have a slower PC, mine's a middle range PC, but if you do have a slower one then this is probably not a good idea. But what you're going to see in a short amount of time is the buildings in the distance are now going to be rendered at a higher level of detail, and as you can see there, the buildings are in the background, a lot more like Grand Theft Auto 5, where you can see more buildings in the distance. So that is pretty much it. You might notice a bit of flickering. Obviously there was a add-on file to prevent that from happening, and obviously I put that in now, but during the recording I obviously didn't. So let's go on to the next step. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is start texturing. So I found a HD Rhodes mod, and obviously massive amounts of credit to him up on the screen. Obviously links in the description to his mod if you want to support that, by all means please do. So what I have done is I've taken his mod and I'm going to start working around that. So obviously my main criticism here, obviously no disrespect to the creator because he's done some brilliant work aside of this, is I don't like the stone road that I'm standing on at the moment. However, I'm going to replace that, and then once it's replaced, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work on the road models and fix all of this jaggedness. As you can see on the zebra walk, or the the crossroad I'm going to call it, you'll notice some jaggedness, and that is due to poor UV mapping. Now UV mapping is basically a process where you tell the texture file where to go, and obviously it's not been done correctly when this game was made, so that's why it looks a little not very suitable. Another thing that's worth noting is the pavement as well. That also has this strange sort of ripple to it, so we're going to fix that too. Okay, so I have changed the texture file. As you can see, what I'm standing on now is a tarmac road, which looks a little more vanilla-like and a lot more suitable. Obviously we still have the ripple texture on the pavement and obviously on the zebra crossing, so I've not been able to edit the model yet since the studio that I need. Currently it's offline, down for maintenance, which is a bit strange, but obviously I'll get working on that pretty soon and that'll be in the video. But as you can see, I'm quite happy with how the game's turned out so far. So we've got the shaders updated. We've got a start on the graphical textures. What I'm going to be doing next is resuming the textures, and once we've got those done, I'm going to do a few more things like HD hoods and other things, and then pretty much once that's sorted out, I'm going to probably do a bit of remodeling. Now obviously remodeling in the engine with the given tools, it is very difficult, so obviously I'll leave that till last. Alright, so I have updated the model file. Let me tell you, it has been 2 days. I've been playing with it, trying to get it to work, doing this, that and the other, and it is horrendously awful trying to model for San Andreas. Finally found the clean way of doing it, but it is still an absolute nightmare. If you want to import models, it takes 15 minutes to do. Doesn't sound like an awful lot, but let me tell you, normally it takes about 30 seconds. But on the plus side, as you can see, the model is now in. The road is now a lot cleaner. Mind the flicker in there, I'll fix that pretty soon. Obviously this part here is fixed, and if I come over to here, as you can see, it's a bit propped up. I'm just going to touch that back down pretty soon and sort it out, but obviously, yeah, that's stuck up for some reason. But I've also increased the tessellation. As you can see on the edge, it's not jagged anymore, it's a lot smoother, and well, I think it looks better in my personal opinion. Alright, that has been part 1 to, I don't know what you call this, to be honest, maybe modernising Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And obviously in the future versions, providing it gets enough support, that is, we're going to have more HD models, we're going to rework the animations, and probably look at adding some systems that will obviously improve the quality of the gameplay and the physics and other miscellaneous things like that. Obviously this is only part 1, so there's still a lot more to do, a lot of retexturing, remodeling, and then probably reanimation and so on and so forth. But I hope you've enjoyed this series if you stuck around this long. Sorry I do go on quite a bit, but I'm explaining the full process just so you know what I'm doing and which stage the project's up to. And goodbye.